It's black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh. 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 It's black and white.
Hello everybody, my name is Lee. Welcome back to another video and welcome to episode 2 of Timetable Reviews. So if you don't know this series, this is the series where I review old timetables from the UK. So let's go to the table and let's see what timetable I've got today. So here's the table and here's the timetable. This is the Aylesbury and North Buckinghamshire travel guide from July 2004. So one year and 1 month since I was born. I bought this 2 years ago. Bear in mind I'm doing this on the 1st of January 2025. So Happy New Year. But yeah, back then in 2004, you used to only pay £1. Now bear in mind in 2004, that was £1. In 2024, in November, this would have been £1.77. But I only paid £1 for this at the home bus running day. As you see, it's got a map of a little map of Aylesbury services, and there is a bigger map in a minute. A picture of one of the Country Rider solos that existed back then. We'll show the Country Rider map in a minute, but there's a map here showing Aylesbury services, as I said. A map of all routes in the Aylesbury area, which most of it is still the exact same to this day, apart from a couple of routes. As you see, and if I just scroll back to the Country Rider map. So if you don't know what Country Rider was a network of services that operated in and around Leighton Buzzards and places like that, and around the village. You can see there was a big splodge there in the Cheddington, Ivanhoe area, and there was quite a big splodge up in the Leighton Buzzard area as well. And quite a big splodge up in the Buckingham area as well. Most of these services don't exist anymore, unfortunately. Which they do. They will be really good links, but unfortunately, they don't. But if we just have a look here, as you can see, it shows all the guides about how to use the guide. It shows all the services, which I'll do in this video for you, of course, and then other contents. There's also notes here: bus, not fuss. Get a bus. Get Travelwise. So if you don't know what Travelwise was, it was Buckinghamshire County Council's public information system back then in 2004. This was launched in the early 1990s when the World Wide Web was becoming a thing, and it will be replaced by Travelline in next bus in 2009. As you can see, it shows the index of all services served, which I must add is much more than what it is today. It also shows all the tourist information places in Amersham, Aylesbury, so all around the network in Bucks. Then we had bus operators. Now, there are a couple of companies that don't exist anymore, like Chiltern Osmore Services, Hayfordian, Jeffs, Red Kite, MK Metro, and there are companies that still exist to this day but might not run bus services again, like in Buckinghamshire, like Grant Palmer and Moths. But there are other companies like Red Rose, Reaver, and that's basically it, because even though Red Line existed back then, they didn't really run anything that was in for Buckinghamshire County Council, and saying that's international. I've got to one day. It shows how to find out more stuff about complaints and stuff, about term times, the bank holiday system, dial-a-ride stuff, which at the time in 2004 was just the Aylesbury Vale dial-a-ride and the Leighton Buzzard network. The ticket schemes. And then we've got a stand information about where your bus departs from Aylesbury bus station, which is interesting. Must add though that there was this Bay 12, so you've got obviously Bay 1 there, which was where the so if you think about it, this is the exact same layout to what it is now. So about there, So say that's the door. There is the coffee shop. Obviously, there's where the toilets are. There is usually what was the Arriva office, but now it's empty. In the middle of that, nowadays, is the new info point, which isn't in use at the moment. At the back there, obviously, the stairs and the lift to Forest Square Shopping Centre, which still exists to this day. So obviously there's bays 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and all. And there was also a bay 12, which was for the evening buses, because Aylesbury bus station was only open till 11 o'clock and we had more buses. But yeah, so first route to show is the number 2 route, which was run by Arriva at the time. Ran from Bedgrove to Quarrendon every 20 minutes throughout the day. It also shows the number 16, which I'll show you later. It was even a Saturday service and an hourly Sunday service to Hayden Hill. Next up, we've got the number 3. Now, the number 3 is a school bus. This ran from Amblesden, Blackthorn, Chiltern, Longcrendon, Shabington, Ickford, Worminghall, Beckley, Oxford, and through the schools. This was run by a company called Jeff's Coaches. Now, Jeff's Coaches, who were based in Brackley, they sadly don't exist anymore. They closed down in 2010. But they were quite a major operator in the Brackley, Buckingham area. And they operated quite a lot of services. There we had the one-day tickets that you can get on trains and buses. Which at the time was really the Aylesbury the River Explorer tickets, which is now the Orbit Day ticket. And the Aylesbury Zone tickets. And Station Express, who had the X5 route with their Explorer ticket. Then we had the number 4. Now, this wasn't the group 4 at the time. This was just the number 4. It started at Ellen Road, Hotwell Park, Babendal Farm, Taylor Road, all sorts. Running every half an hour throughout the day. It was pretty damn good. Monday to Saturday, no Sunday service. Then we had the number 4, which was another Jeff's route. This ran on a Tuesday, and it ran from Banbury through Brackley to Buckingham, and then to Milton Keynes. Limited stop, once a day in each direction. And you'll probably notice you can see the date at the bottom there when it was last changed, 2000. Then we had the number 6, which was a college bus from Buckingham through Steeple Claydon, Launton, Bicester, through to the Banbury College. School bus by Jeff's again. Shows about how to get to hospitals at Amersham Hospital, MK Hospital, Stoke Manor Hospital, Rex Park Hospital in Slough and Wickham Hospital. It also mentions if it has an accident or an emergency, which was all hospitals apart from Amersham. Then we've got the Red Route 9. The Red Route 9, of course, being a popular route in Aylesbury, running every 10 minutes at that time, run by Arriva with night buses, which is fantastic. Every 20 minutes on Saturdays and hourly on Sundays. It was branded as the Red Route 9, and it also mentions about the Sunday Rover, which I'll get to in a minute. Then we have the number 11 and 12. No, this is not the exact same 11 than what you think today. It's the 111. But back then, it wasn't SNS. It was Moths that ran it. That's right, Moths. Moths travel based in Stocklake. Back then, they were based in Stoke Mandeville. But they ran it a couple of times a day, Monday only, some trips. So it wasn't the best, but it did the job. Then we had the number 14, which ran from Tame to Oxford. This was run by Hayfordian Coaches, who were a company based in Bicester at the time. Unfortunately, the company doesn't exist anymore. Unfortunately, they closed down in 2023. Sad situation where we lost the company. But it ran every day. It was not really a college bus though. It was a school, actual public bus you can actually get to Tame. It then became the 270 bus run by Red Rose Travel. And unfortunately, the route got withdrawn in 2014. Unfortunately. Then we had the 15, which Moths ran on a Wednesday and a Friday from Chinner through to Princess Whisperer up to Aylesbury once a week. So that's good. It had a Mach. And then you had the 115, which was a school bus. Note though that in the morning from Atkit, it didn't go to Aylesbury until 9:30, which was stupid. Then we had the number 16. Now this gets a bit complicated here. The number 16. So yeah. So the number 16 was run by Arriva, Star Travel, Sedanet once a day, and Grand Palmer. That's right, Grand Palmer of Flitwick. Who at the time they were based in Dunstable, but they had operation in Buckinghamshire for some reason. They don't anymore. As you can see, Grand Palmer had most of the journeys as well, so well done, Grand Palmer. Bear in mind, Grand Palmer were really small at the time, so this was really good. Arriva ran most of them alongside Grand Palmer. Ness ran once a day in each direction, one in the morning, going towards Aylesbury, as you can see, and one in the evening, going back. It was Code D, which meant that it only operates until further notice. I think the reason for it was because Arriva couldn't run the trip for some reasons. Grand Palmer ran all the Saturday services, and Sundays Star Travel ran 3 times a day, connecting with the trains. And then there's the return, which is really interesting. Then we had the 6. So those were the Westcroft trips, but the 16 at the time did go all the way to Steeple Claydon. But the number 18 did exist back then. And guess who was running it? Grand Palmer. So Grand Palmer were running the number 18s. Every 2 hours during the day, it was run by Grand Palmer. Nowadays the 18 service, which still exists, is run by Langston and Tuscan. And we'll get to know about them shortly, because it gets really complicated. And I must add, the 18 ran every 2 hours on a Saturday, which of course it does now. A Red Rose run the Saturday service for the 18, and there's the return, which basically, if you don't know, the 16s did go to Aylesbury. They went to Aylesbury from Bicester about every 2 hours. But again, it was mainly Grand Palmer running it. And Arriva ran, I think, once per day. Then we had the 30 bus. Now, the 30 was run by a company called Chaunton Onsmore Services, or Chaunton Services as they were called. They ran it on a Friday from Oakley to Bicester once a week. Nice short 25-minute trip. But it also says about train services about Great West from Paddington, Marylebone, Baker Street, Euston and Watford Junction. And then we had the 32. Now, the 32 was the major route by Jeff's coaches. Now, Jeff's coaches really, their pride and joy was really, the Sun was really the market buses, but they operated quite a few routes. This route, the 32, nowadays the X6, and this ran from Buckingham to started at Buckingham Tesco's, then the bus stand, then the railway, then the bus station, which was at the railway station, the shopping centre, then the hospital, and then Bletchley bus station. And a couple of times a day, it came from Bicester via Faymit and Ticklewick, and Grawlcock to get to Buckingham, which was interesting. And it was an hourly service, and about a 3-hourly service to Bicester. Not bad. And an hourly Saturday service. Again, really good, the route. Unfortunately, the route doesn't exist anymore. Then we had the 33133. Nope, sorry about that. Which was an interesting route. It was a country rider route. Now, country rider services were all operated by Arriva, apart from few of them, which were run by Red Kite, which I'll get to in a minute. But this one was run by Arriva. the 133, which still exists to this day. It's run by Red Line, and it runs once a week on a Tuesday. And this one ran on a Friday instead, from same place where it starts, Walter Stratford, through the villages up to Buckingham. Must add though that the Jeff's coach service was run on a Tuesday. Actually went about Embden Way and Buckingham as well. And what the bus did was it will leave, it will go to Buckingham, then go down to Brackley, turn around there, go back to Bicester, to Buckingham, and then the 133 it will go down to Buckingham and then back. That's what it did. Next, we had the 36, which was run by Star Travel at the time. It ran every 15 minutes during the peak, half hourage off peak, Monday to Saturday. Well, it was every 15 minutes on Saturdays all day, actually. That was good. Then the 38. Now, this ran on a Wednesday. Oakley, Brill, Luddershall, Ashington, Upper Wincherdon, Aylesbury, once a week on a Wednesday. It's basically the 112, but just do it all the way round. Then we had the 40. Now, the 40 was interesting. It was a Jeff's Coaches route. And it was the Buckingham Town bus. It ran from 9:15 to 2:15 Monday to Friday, and 9:15 to 12:15 on a Saturday. And it was a town bus around Buckingham, serving most of the villages, including Mains Morton, which is a major village nearby. Then we had the 41 and 42. Now, the 41 and 42, the Timetable's got other routes like the 18s because it was from Stibbleclade to Buckingham. But the 42 was a Langston and Tusker route. Now, Langston and Tusker are a company based in Stibbleclade, and they're still based there to this day. And they're a small family-owned operator. I've been on them a few times myself. But their routes themselves, the 42 was a couple of times a day. Like there's one at 7:28 in the morning, which ran on Monday to, which was interesting. And then there was a non-school bus at 8:25. There was also a couple of trips from the village of Hillsdon, which is just outside Marsh Gibbon, which I must add doesn't actually have a bus service anymore, unfortunately. And that went all the way to Buckingham as well once a day. It was a market bus. That's another thing that Langston liked doing. And on a Saturday, it was once a day from Steeple Claydon. It's basically the 18 nowadays. But yeah, there was a turn. Then we had the 43. Now, this started at the garage. And this ran on the first Wednesday in the month from Steeple Claydon through to Chaldon and Twyford up to Northampton. Now, you can only board this bus if you were actually going to Northampton. It was basically an excursion, basically. And you had, generally speaking, about 3 hours in Northampton, which was fantastic. Generally speaking, they will use one of the coaches for that. Langston and Tusker do have a couple of coaches, and they did at the time. Then we had the 44, another free operator situation. We've got Country Rider, who ran the 130 bus, which was a Thursday only route, and which left Buckingham at 8:50, went to Leckmanstead. And then Langston and Tusker operated a couple of trips per day on a Tuesday. And they also ran a 44 on a Sunday from the village of Linton Lowell, which doesn't see a bus anymore, which is interesting. Also note the 69 by Jeffs on a Wednesday and the 646 school bus. Then we had the number 45 from Banbury to Mains Morton on a Thursday, run by Jeffs once a day. Then we had the 48-49. Langston ran it on a Saturday from Westbury to Buckingham, and Jeffs ran it on a Tuesday from Brackley through to Westbury and to Buckingham. Must add that the Langston bus actually went to Tesco's, but the Jeff's bus didn't for some reason. Then it shows about the airport transfers from Heathrow, Gatwick, Luton, Stansted City, London City Airport, and London. Bear in mind, this was before Southend Airport, because that opened in 2012. Then we had the 50 and 52, the only Milton Keynes Metro route at the time into Bucks. This ran every 2 hours throughout the day. Still exists today. It's run by Nest nowadays. Langston Tusker took it on, and then Nest took it on in 2014. And Nest returned. There was also a 52, which ran all the way to Leighton Buzzard, which was interesting. And then we got the 54. Nowadays the 50 run by Red Rose, but back then it was run by Arriva. You'll probably notice a couple of things, like, for example, it's not a lot of bus. It was an hourly service, but there's an intruder, a good old intruder, Red Rose Travel. And if I just kneel down here quickly, as you can see, there was a 61:a. Now, the previous 54 was at 6:10. Where did this go, Lee? The answer was Ivanhoe. There was also a couple of school buses that didn't actually go further when they were the Elm Farm. Now, obviously, that's for William Harding. Because if you don't know, William Harding School is in Elm Farm, and it causes a lot of parking problems on the route. And then there was a Sunday service, 61:a, which at the time was actually called the 161. Then we've got a few maps here. First one is Buckingham. Second one is Aylesbury again. And then the third one is Wimslow. Then it's the return of the 54s. Then we got the 54 A, B, and C's, which are the Wimslow District commuter bus routes on a Wednesday. Which, if you don't know, is one bus all day, just runs back and forth. Does 3 trips routes. One is the 54A, which goes to Wolsey, Little Hallwood. Starts in Swanbourne. Then the 54B was Great Hallwood, Wandon, Nash. And then the 54C was Middle Claydon, Steeple Claydon, Bournemouth Claydon, East Claydon. Which is interesting. 61 next, which is again the popular Arriva route. Arriva ran this every hour to Luton Station, but Red Rose ran a once-a-day trip all the way to Ivanhoe at 20:30 and 22:45 as well. So that was good. And the Sunday service, which again went to Whipsnade Zoo, I must add. And it's returned for that. 63-64s is a bit interesting. It's a route that ran a couple of times a day. It was basically the equivalent now of the 62s. So Willstone, Longlaston, Ivanhoe, and something like that. It was quite a weird service, but it did the job. And that included the Red Rose bus again. 66 next, which is the 60 now. Which is an hourly service that ran all day from Buckingham. And there was even a 2-hourly Sunday service, which then went over to Red Line, but then became a Red Rose route after failed travel. And then this return. Shows about the rail services again. Shows also the training company's addresses. Showing obviously the companies: Southern, Virgin Trains, Silverlink, Metropolitan Line, Heathrow Express, First Great Western, and Chiltern Railways, who were based in Aylesbury at the time, was Chiltern Railways, so Rickfield Hill. Then we've got the 67, the exact same 67 that still runs to this day. 68 is the same, which is the first and third Thursday of the month route from Wimslow District Community Bus. It's an excursion route to go to the Westcroft Centre. Then we got the 69, which was a Wednesday route by Jeff, the Little Tickwick, Buckingham, Mensmonton, and Northampton once a week on a Wednesday, so you can go to which is really good. Had about quite a few hours. You end up crikey, about 5 hours in Northampton. Brilliant. Then you got 1 day tickets again. Then you got the 71, which was a weird service. It was twice a day. Every 40 minutes in the morning, and it was really what it was a bus for the staff at the Raven today Sony factory, which doesn't exist anymore. It closed down a couple of years ago, but yeah. Then you got the 115, which was the school bus again, and the 125, which was Nest operated at the time on a Thursday, 3 times a day, every 2 hours, every 90 minutes near enough, from Princess Risborough, Little Kimble, Wendover, Stoke Mandeville, Aston Clinton, and up to Halton. It was the only route to go to Halton Village at the time. This will also be the last route to go through Halton Village unless you use Village Connect. And then the 130s, 131, 132, 133, which were run by Arriva at the time. These are the market services that ran around Buckingham. And they ran on Saturdays as well. Then the 151, which was a weird service. Mondays it went to Buckingham from Newton Longville, and Tuesdays and Wednesdays went from Bletchley to Buckingham, which was really interesting. 152 is the same. It ran the route itself. The 152 was run by the Kite buses, and the 159, which is there, the Saturday service, which we'll get to in a minute, was operated by Arriva. But the route itself, the 152, ran from Lane and Buzzard to Milton Keynes via all the villages, via Stoke Hammond, Bletchley, all those sort of places. So it's basically the 162, basically, nowadays. But the 159 was really a stupid little route. But we'll get to this route first, the 153 and 154, which at the time, the 153 went all the way to Great Horwood. But they don't do that anymore. They now go as far as Stukely for some reason. Arriva ran these at the time. The 154 would then later become the Kite route, and later a Star Travel route, later a Red Rose route, and the 153 became a Red Line route, and then a SNS route. And yeah, there were weird services. The 159 was a really stupid route. It was a short 20-minute run to Stoke Hammond and back on a Saturday. It was pointless. Then the 161, which, as I said, is the Sunday only service by Country Rider. It ran every 2 hours to Whipsnade. And then the 162, not the exact same 162 as we know is loved today. It's the 167. So Ivanhoe or the Lane Buzzard on a Tuesday to Saturday. So it also ran on a Saturday edition as well. But then you got the 165, which was Buncott Lane at the time, every 2 hours on a Friday, and then the 170, which was another Country Rider route, but this ran every day, Monday to Friday. It was a commuter service from Marsworth to Tring Station, where you can catch a train to Lords London. It was timed to meet the trains with minimum about 10-minute connections, which was fantastic. Then you had the 171, which was basically, it was the 163 on a Tuesday and a Saturday. Generally speaking, normally Arriva only needed like one bus. So the bus did all sorts of stuff every day. 172 was the Red Kite route, ran on a Wednesday only from Churning to the Dunstable once a week on a Wednesday. It was only a 40-minute trip. But you only had 2 hours in Dunstable, but you could probably get a bus to Luton in that time. And back in time. Then the 174, which was a school bus, a really short school run. Apparently, I had a word with the driver that used to do that route. The route doesn't run anymore, unfortunately. And it was pointless. No one used it. Then you had the 175, which was basically Aylesbury to Hemel Hempstead to Lane and Buzzard, Lane and Buzzard to Hemel Hempstead to Lane and Buzzard, Lane and Buzzard to Aylesbury. It's weird. And it ran on a Thursday. 176 was another one. This one on a Monday. Ivanhoe through the villages up to Milton Keynes and back. Then you had the 260, 261, which is now the 110 every 2 hours. There was also a bus every 2 hours with an hour and 10-minute connection in time to Oxford via Woman Hall and all those villages. Brilliant. Those were run by Arriva at the time. Then we had the 280 half-hourly service all day to Oxford, and Saturdays, and an hourly Sunday service. Obviously, there's the return of that. 323, 324 was the Wickham services. 323 went via Butler's Ross, and the 324 went via Lil Kimball. They were both they're both hourly, so combined half hourly, and there was an hourly 323 on Sundays. 500s, 501s were basically the Watfords at the time. Obviously, bearing in mind, obviously, the route only goes as far as Hempstead now, but that's okay. But the 500s ran half hourly throughout the day. Red Rose ran a couple of morning trips in the and the Sunday service, which was hourly. And then the Silver Rider, which was every 15 minutes, connecting the trains every 30 minutes, and with Saturday service, and the X5s, which was the Oxford Milk Cambridge route at the time. Then the 65X15, so the 65s are now the 165s. So they were going to Stoke Manor Hospital at the time as well, albeit only twice a day rather than the previous 3. For some reason, it's the X15, so now the X4s. And there was even a 4 times a day Sunday service as well on the X15. Then we had the M2, which was a football bus. Now, Moths Travel operated this from Aylesbury, just along the 324 route, somewhat, and went to the Wycombe Wanderers football stadium, Adams Park, so that you can go to the football. So what it would do is that if it was a afternoon match day, it will get there 14:15 or 18:45 if it was evening match, and the return trip will leave 10 minutes after the final whistle, so you had to get out quite quickly. And then you had the M3, which was a Marshall's route, Elmhurst Road, the Daily Mail to London, and back as well. And at the back here you've got a map of the country network, rail services, and at the back here you've got a route map. But yeah, so I'll just turn my camera. So yeah, so that's the title review of the July 2004 bus guide. I really hope they enjoyed this episode of Timetable Review. If you like it, please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, bye bye.